It's the Friday before a game. You know what that means? Keys to the game, you betcha grambling, and of course your bold predictions here on the Locked On Vikings podcast.
You like that on 3, 1, 2, 3, you like it!
You are Locked On Vikings, your daily Minnesota Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Locked On Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, your pal, and the kid you copied off in math class. My name is Luke Braun. You can find me on Twitter at Luke Braun NFL. You can find the show on Twitter at Locked On Vikings. Thanks for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day. And you can also find Locked On Vikings on Amazon Fire or Roku. Just download the Locked On Minnesota Sports app. Watch it right on your smart TV. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. It's time. The Bills game is nigh, and we do not yet have answers about Josh Allen. The Bills party line is that they hope to know by today, Friday. I am not in Friday yet. It's still Thursday night for me. So we'll see. Maybe you know and I don't yet. But here's what I do know. And this is going to be the first thing, right? Keys to the game. Does Josh Allen play? The ulnar collaterate ligament. I probably botched that. The UCL is the joint in your elbow. Part of the joint in your elbow. It's the like elbow's equivalent of the MCL, the middle one. It's like right through the middle, and it's a stabilizing ligament. And damage to it is really difficult to heal. I think just kind of because it's so deep in there. I don't know. I'm obviously not a doctor, but it's a really bad injury for like pitchers and stuff. And of course, quarterbacks. Josh Allen had this same injury to his throwing arm, missed like 4 weeks or maybe 5 or 6. It's not good news. The way that I've been presenting this is if it's really minor, like just a little baby sprain, sometimes that kind of thing can heal on its own. In fact, a lot of times it heals on its own. That particular sprain can heal with physical therapy or lighter procedures or just rest. Sometimes it requires surgery. That's the Tommy John surgery that makes every baseball player or every baseball fan start sweating. Doesn't feel like we're in that. I think they would know by now. But basically, the fact that he hasn't practiced at all this week, and we'll see if that changes on Friday, doesn't make me particularly optimistic that Josh Allen will play. And honestly, some of the bluster and whisper coming out of Buffalo just feels gloomy. And that's me more like reading the vibe and reading the tea leaves. But it doesn't feel like if I were to bet on the game, I wouldn't bet on Josh Allen playing. Now, if you can find a book that still has a Josh Allen line, you should bet that. And we'll get into more grambles in the You Betcha section. But probably can't find that. And finding bets for this game is actually particularly hard because a lot of books have just wiped this game off because they don't know who the quarterback's going to be, and it changes so many dynamics. So that is one key. I would say right now, gun to my head, if I had to guess, Josh Allen doesn't play. But if he does, my jaw's not exactly going to hit the floor because I just don't know the extent of the injury. So actual football things. One of the things that Joe Marino told me on Crossover Thursday yesterday that I can't get out of my head is that the Bills are a nickel team. I went on another Bills show on Thursday and asked them too. I was like, they're like an 11 team. And they're like, yeah, big time nickel team. They never go into base. That is exactly what Kevin O'Connell wants. He wants to go against your nickel. He wants to run on your nickel. So if you can find like rushing overs, maybe take those. Because the Vikings will want to get that run going. They are going to want to run the ball here. And then that will set up play action stuff and hopefully that will work out. It's also kind of weird because, again, they don't really know which quarterback they're going up against. This is going to be the second game like this where they have to go on the road to an AFC team and then not really know what the game plan is going to be. because this was like this in Miami, where they're like, we don't really know what you're going to put together for Skylar Thompson. So we kind of have to take the first 2 drives. Whether or not the Vikings can adjust once they get that information is going to decide this one. This is not going to be the kind of game, at least I don't think, that is over by the second quarter, one way or another. If the Vikings can escape those first 2 drives without being in a hole, that's huge. If Case Keenum plays, and if Josh Allen plays, the Vikings have said out loud that they're preparing as though Josh Allen will play. That could be lies, whatever. But who knows? But if Case Keenum plays, it's not like you can game plan for that much anyways, because you don't really know what kind of game plan the Bills will put together for Case Keenum. So they are going to have to do a little bit of information gathering, and that's going to mean it's going to be rough for the first couple drives. Usually it's 2 possessions. If you ask players, like, at what point do the adjustments start coming in? It's usually after that second possession. Then you're past the scripted, you know what the game plan is, you've got enough information, and coaches can start kind of saying, okay, we're going to start doing this or that instead. That's the way that I would predict this game, that the first 2 drives will be an information gathering mission. And that possibly means that the Vikings will give up some production and points and stuff, but then the rest of the game will not necessarily reflect what happens on those 2 drives. But the other hand, the Vikings could just fail with their adjustments. They could adjust to the wrong thing, and the Bills can get them. The Bills could maybe even see this coming and have a little switcheroo ready, and it could just end up being really ugly. Honestly, same thing on the other side. The Bills could have their own little information gathering mission, although they've got, tape on the Vikings offense as it is supposed to be comprised. And, but still, they could make some adjustments after the first couple drives and totally screw it up, and it could end up being a high scoring game. I don't know. I have no idea what to make of this game, because I don't know who the Bills are going to start at quarterback. But hey, if it's not Josh Allen, we're going to feel a lot better about that. But I do want to say, before we move on to the You Betcha segment, don't take it for granted just because it's a backup. And we've heard this a lot about the Vikings. They played so many backup quarterbacks, but I said this on the Minnesota Football Party too. Backups aren't potatoes. They're still NFL quarterbacks, and the Bills are still a very stacked team. This is a very difficult game, even with Case Keenum. And it would be unwise to act as though, Case Keenum's in, Vikings should win by 3 scores or they're not a real team. I don't think that that's very fair to the rest of the Buffalo Bills. So we'll go on to the betting, and then we have your bold predictions coming up a little bit later in the show. But first, today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. It's the place to post your job. If you have a position that needs to be filled, and if you're looking for that perfect next team member to get you through to the end of that year, 2022 is coming to a close. We're all trying to get that stretch run. We're all trying to hit those final end of year goals. And if you need that extra person, go to LinkedIn Jobs. Helps you find the right people for your team faster and free. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks a whole bunch for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today, or Lost as we like to call it. It is all sports. It's a daily podcast going over everything in all sports. It's the same format as this one and any other Locked On shows that you may enjoy listening to. I would also love to point you to my Patreon. Patreon.com/LukeBraunNFL is where you can find film breakdowns, a little bit more in-depth stuff with visuals that helps explain things. It's a little bit more abstract. It's, I like to think it's something that you can't really get anywhere else, even on all the film breakdown of YouTubes. It's different than that stuff. This week I did a very glowing Kirk Cousins review from Washington. I really liked that game. TJ Hawkinson's debut, and I just posted a very cool Caleb Evans one. Some cool stuff there, and he will probably play in this one. Doesn't sound like Cameron Dantzler's going to go. But the Friday injury report, which I haven't seen yet, but you might have, or you might be able to look up, is way more important. If Dantzler or Dalvin Tomlinson or Josh Allen or any of the people you're watching are practicing on Friday, it doesn't matter if they didn't practice for the rest of the week. Really good chance that they go if they practice Friday. let's move on to the You Betcha Gramblin segment. This is just some prop bets that I like. Just kind of throw out a whole bunch and take them if you want. Last week we did okay. I went 3 for 5. I told you to throw a random flyer of a half unit on a Heineke rushing touchdown at plus 450 just because I liked how high those odds were. Didn't hit that, but that was kind of a flyer. And then I had Terry McLaurin over 67.5, and he didn't actually hit it, even though there was a backup cornerback in there for like 2/3 of the game, which again, might tell you something about Evans because he found Evans quite a bit. Like that matchup happened. The ones I did hit, I had a Heineke interception. It was minus 162, so not the most value, but we did hit it, so we got some money there. And then Justin Jefferson over 87.5, got some money there. And also, I thought JJ was due for a touchdown. I was right. JJ touchdown plus Vikings win double, like parlay them together, and it was like plus 120 something if I remember. And we hit that, so pretty good day. This time, I have a few other ones. Again, it's really hard to find prop bets for this game because it's early as I am recording this, and we don't know the Josh Allen status. So I think a lot of books are reticent to put stuff. But you can go to Bet Online as of this recording, at least right now, and you can still find some more like high-level team-level stuff. And the player props should come by like Saturday or early Sunday, and you can make those there. When those happen, here is what I'll say. I love this as a Justin Jefferson game. Doesn't sound too optimistic that Tre'Davious White will play. I don't really know. I'm a little bit cloudy on that situation. And you'll probably have to listen to Locked On Bills for it. But asking Joe Marino about it, it kind of sounded like, yeah, we kind of have no idea when he's going to get in and if he's even going to get in like a full capacity. So you might get Jefferson versus like Dane Jackson. And the Bills have given up some pretty big games to like Garrett Wilson and kind of number one receivers in the last few weeks. So this could be a Jefferson game. The Bills have kind of struggled with that. So I would take a Jefferson over if it's not like 100 yards or something insane, but I can't really imagine it would be over the Bills. Like you could find Jefferson at like a 60 or a 70 or something when it's posted. Something to think about, and I also think the Vikings can rush. I think this game can have some points scored in it. And so that's actually why I am going for both teams over 19.5 points. That is a plus 127, which means you're more than doubling your money if you hit that. And I think that as good as the Bills defense is, they love to be in nickel, and the Vikings love to run against nickel. So there is just sort of a rock, paper, scissors matchup thing that what you love to be is actually what we really want you to be in. But also, Jefferson can move the ball, and also Stephon Diggs will probably get like 600 yards because that is energy that he's going to have. Whatever his over is, I'm taking it unless that thing is 150. Like I'm actually going to. I can also find Stephon Diggs plus 100, so even 2-1 odds, anytime touchdown. Diggs is getting a touchdown on us. It's happening. Backup corner in there. He's Stephon Diggs. I mean, he is one of the best receivers in the league. Easy top 5 for me. That feels like a place that they can go. Now, the Bills in the red zone don't typically go for Diggs any more than they go for anybody else. They are definitely more of a play call in the red zone that gets some weird shovel pass to the fullback kind of team. They'll run mesh concepts, they'll run spacing concepts, and they love to spread the ball out in the low red rather than being the kind of team that's got like, one guy that they really love to go to in the red zone. Like I think Mike Evans was that for the Bucs one year. They're not that kind of team, but when they're in like the 30-ish range, plus 30, plus 35, you will get a shot to Stephon Diggs. Like that is how they play. So I love a Stephon Diggs touchdown in this one. I also, because of the exploratory thing I talked about, it's going to be a bit of an information gathering mission, especially if Case Keenum is out. What are they going to run against us? We don't really know, and we're going to have to come up with a game plan on the fly. They have done that in a couple games, so I like their ability to do that. But in the meantime, Buffalo to score on their first drive, plus 140, feels pretty good. And that's kind of why I said, this isn't the game that ends, after 2 drives, because I think the Vikings can like shore up and find if the offense can get going, they can find a way to come back. But I do think that the Vikings will be in a deficit at some point. And by deficit, I'm not talking 3 points. I'm talking like they might actually be in a hole that they have to crawl out of just because of how difficult it's going to be to start. They're really going to be sort of behind the 8 ball in a roundabout way. as compared to the rest of their game. Now, obviously, the backup quarterback is going to be better for your game in the whole as a whole. But when you don't know what they're going to run, that kind of information gathering mission, in the meantime, you're running vanilla coverages that is perfect for their game plan. So I love the Buffalo's ability to score on their first drive, plus 140, whether it's Josh Allen or not. And then here's the other thing I'm going to do. So Bet Online lets you side bet on live games. So you can go right in the middle of a game and bet on stuff like who will score the most in this quarter, bet on the rest of the game. You can go in at halftime and the Vikings are trailing by 10 and you think that they're going to come back. You can go in and bet that money line and probably get better odds than you would have had before the game. Whatever happens in this game, I want you to go into Bet Online at halftime. I want you to take whatever the Q3 side is and take the Bills, because the Vikings have been a catastrophe in third quarters this year. It's one of the bigger storylines of the year for the Vikings that they have kind of like lost out in third quarters. They have a positive point differential in quarters 1, 2, and 4, and they're one of the worst teams in the league in Q3. Are there actual reasons for that? Yeah, maybe teams are coming out of halftime with a particular vibe and the Vikings are taking a while to adjust, and they've been particularly good in fourth quarters. So maybe this is a second half thing, but then when, we're in end game situations, they get a little bit better or something like that. But whatever it is, take the Bills to outscore the Vikings in Q3, which is a bet that you can make at halftime at Bet Online. You can make all of those. All odds, props, and lines are at betonline.net. And hopefully once we get Josh Allen information, more of that stuff will be up at BetOnline. I also want to talk to you about Simply Safe. That is vital to keep your home safe. If you've been thinking about getting home security, don't put it off another minute. You don't need to live in that world of risk. And over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries, package thefts, and stuff spike, especially if you're ordering all your Christmas gifts off of Amazon or whatever. Simply Safe Home Security Systems are offering 50% off of their award-winning security system, so more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. So order your Simply Safe system for half off today. They have fast protect technology and 24/7 professional monitoring agents that capture critical evidence and verify that threats are real so that you can get priority police response. Simply Safe is whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, and that fast protect technology can detect motion smarter so that it only alerts the authorities if the threat is real. You're not going to get the cops called to your house because the cat moves through the wrong room. And they even have hazard sensors that detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. So don't miss your chance to save big on the security system that I recommend. Get 50% off of any new Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/LockedOnNFL today. It's their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That is SimpliSafe, SIMPLISAFE.com/LockedOnNFL. There is no safe like Simply Safe. My sweet cherubs, my muses, my lovely little babies. Are you ready to get bold? These are only going to get weirder. It's time for the bold prediction segment. It's my favorite part of the week. It is when I get to find the most unhinged takes that you guys can conjure and see if we can't make an actual bold prediction out of them. The bold prediction segment works like this. I put out a call on Twitter. You respond to that call on Twitter, and I read some of the most creative ones. If I read it and it hits and you're right, we party. That is it. That's the game. So let's go back and see if any of them hit. We have some debating to do. So let's start with that. No, you know what? I'm going to save it for last. You have to wait. Skull Actuary said that the Commanders would commit more turnovers than they have first down conversions on third down. That wasn't the case. I think they only had one actual turnover. Had a pretty good game. Tyler Forness said that Hawkinson would have 2 catches for less than 5 yards each and a touchdown. He did a little better than that. Hawkinson's debut is pretty darn good. Twins fan Ben said that Kirk Cousins would keep twice on read option plays and convert both for first downs or scores. Not quite as much scrambling and rambling as we saw in the Arizona game. Kelsey Ooh said that Heineke would hurdle a player Josh Allen style. We didn't get that. We did get the spin move, so you got something in spirit. But he was always going to do it in his own style. Got a whole bunch of predictions this week about like Kirk Cousins will hurdle someone. Come on, guys. Yeah, it'd be a little more creative than that. That's the low hanging fruit. Gabe said that you would have somebody get 15 receptions, 2 and 10, which would spell out OBJ as their like corresponding numbers in the alphabet, which would be the most elaborate recruiting scheme in NFL history. Absolutely love the energy of that. Didn't get there. And then I actually put my own hat in the ring and I said that the Commanders would get booed more than Kirk Cousins, and I would add a 2-score win. We obviously didn't get the last part, but also there was just no booing in the game, really. Kirk Cousins did get the "you like that" chance, sarcastically from the Commanders fans, and then at the end, enthusiastically from all of the Vikings fans. That traveled so well. I love how Vikings fans travel. It rules. If you're traveling to road games, I admire you and I salute your service. Let's talk about the big one. So, Arch said that Kirk would give us an emphatic "you like that" walking down the tunnel as 7 years ago. And I said, all right, if we get a clip, if we get something great, I will replace it in the intro and we'll party. I also said that locker room speeches didn't count. So you may have noticed that in the beginning of the shows this week, it is no longer the ooh-wee that it has been for like 2 years in the intro. That was Kirk Cousins from an old Washington game. That's gone, and it's now "you like that" from the locker room speech. Because I thought it was just kind of dope, and I figured, new era. Let's change this out. So I did change it in the intro anyways, but I did say, and you can go watch that episode, I did say no locker room speeches. Locker room speeches don't count. It had to be like an in the tunnel emphatic. It had to have that same sort of FU energy that the other one did. And this one felt, if anything, reluctant. And every time Cousins is asked to talk about the "you like that" thing, he's like, yeah, that's going to follow me around for the rest of my life. And he seems like pretty annoyed about that. So like the team was kind of goading him into saying it, and then he said it. It didn't have that you like that energy that first one had, that was like this catharsis. And I said that locker rooms ones didn't count anyways. So the bold prediction doesn't count. However, it is going to be the intro moving forward because I think it's kind of dope. Let's move on to the bold predictions for this game. A whole bunch of ones. There's so many little storylines in this one. The first one I'm going to say comes from Vikings France, who said that the total touchdowns by the Cook brothers will be 5. I love that. Like, I haven't even talked about that all week. You've got James Cook and Dalvin Cook. That's so cute. 5 touchdowns for the Cook brothers, the only Cook brothers that I respect. Good Kebab says JJ and Diggs that was such a reach. My goodness. JJ and Diggs will have the exact same stats. A couple people said this one, that Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs will have the same exact stat line, and I'll go receptions, yards, and touchdowns for the 3 that needs to be. Exactly the same to the yard. All right, that's plenty bold, and boy howdy would that be funny. Skull Actuary says that Stephon Diggs will tie or better his most targeted game as a Bill, regardless of QB. I love this one. I got super annoyed in the last couple of years when Diggs was here with like the targets discourse. And I'm annoyed with the Jefferson target. It's like there's people who are still trying to brand Jefferson isn't getting targeted enough, or blah, blah, blah. If anything, he's getting targeted too much, and the offense needs to find other avenues to throw through, to flow through, because defenses are keying on Jefferson and the offense is sort of falling apart, and you can't be that one-dimensional. But when it was like 2019 with Diggs and all that stuff, it was like what would make Jefferson like the most targeted player in the league would be like adding 1 target a game. And there were points when he was the most targeted player in the league last year, and people were still like, he's not getting enough. It's like, you can look this up. This is wild. I got so annoyed by it. So I love this. Let's get a little dig at the target obsessed people. He will tie or better his most targeted game as a Bill. So when he went to the Bills, one of the first games he had in 2020, he got 16 targets, and everybody was really annoying. Like, he's finally getting the ball as much as he wants to. It was like 16 is insane. So 16 targets would be quite a bit. Arch says that Evans will have a breakout game, 3 to 4 clear pass breakups, and he makes the Bills wide receivers visibly upset. Okay, so for the visibly upset, that needs to be on the broadcast. I will also accept any viral clip. I mean, it's got to be captured on camera, right? I can't have somebody say, "Oh yeah, he was super pissed off on the sideline," like later. And this needs to be verifiable. And then the pass breakups, charted or uncharted or whatever. I'm not gonna just like look it up. I think I just need to see pass breakups on tape. And I mean, I'll look at all the tape, so I'll see it. That's going to be how we do it. I'm just going to like say, I will decide what counts and what doesn't. And I want this one to hit. So if it's close, I'll probably lean toward your side of things. Evan Creed says that the Vikings cover the line from the 2018 game and win by over 17 points. You actually don't need over. You need 17 points. I looked it up. The line was 16 and a half at kickoff, according to Pro Football Reference. Obviously, different books will have different stuff, but I'm going for Pro Football Reference as the final word there. So 16 and a half. So they got to cover a 16 and a half point spread. Vikings are currently 3.5 point underdogs on Bet Online. So you're out of that, off the reservation by 20 points. That is plenty bold. Milo Grams has the last one. Says the total snowfall the day of the game in centimeters will outscore both teams. So if 12.5 centimeters of snow falls, that'd be like 5 inches. The final score would be 12-10. Then that would hit. This is unbelievably bold. I love the chaotic energy of this. This is an absolutely ridiculous and silly prediction, and it's just precisely what I'm going for. But you're in a little trouble because the forecast is not set to go under 32 degrees that entire day. So you might get 0. I'll give you a 0-0 tie. The Vikings and Bills tie at 0-0, and there's no snowfall. I'll give you this. So you've got that ability to backdoor it. Those are the bold predictions, the you betches, the keys to the game. I'll see you guys on the other side of this one. The Vikings will either be 8-1 or 7-2. And the fact that their record can't be any worse than that is pretty comforting right now. So enjoy it while we're here. And we got a tough stretch of games coming up here. Dallas, and then a short week to play New England. And then I think the Jets are next. This is going to be a tough little stretch here, a test of faith. So we'll see how it comes out. I'll see y'all tomorrow. And as always, Skol.